Hello. Is it yes, it's recording. I want to get this done quickly because I see a very exciting engine rebuild on a three-cylinder straight three. Oh, I like three-cylinder engines. So it's currently 59 degrees in freedom units. You can convert that yourselves. It's 15 degrees. And let's get some sticks in because I really want to watch this video. And I've got the immersion heater on because I want some hot water so I can have a bath. Then I'm going to have a bath. I'm going to buy some groceries. And I'm going to buy some baker's yeast because the yeast I've got is long since dead. And I'm going to have a go at making some more bread. Because I've not been too impressed with the supermarket quality stuff recently. So I want to see if I can make myself a loaf of rye bread. Yeah, but I need rye flour to make rye bread. Doesn't matter. Point being, let's get a fire going, shall we? And you know what? It helps if I hold this the right way. The hinge is there on my finger. So, hey, look, a flame. And yep, that's gonna go. Put a couple more sticks on it just to make sure. Just one at the top like so. And then whoopsie. I've got I think it's 100 gallons because I know what a 55-gallon barrel looks like. I think I've got a 100-gallon water butt in the garden, and it was raining last night. It wasn't snow here, and so I thought to myself, well, I'll empty out the butt, get rid of all the stagnant water that can go into the ground along with the rest of it. And then just before I went to bed last night, around about 11 o'clock, I go to bed later, but it was cold and I didn't want to keep tossing fuel onto the fire. So I closed it at 11 and I come back to it today at 4 o'clock. Well, that hasn't been raining since then. It's half full, so now it collects off of a roof. But even so, I think that's quite an impressive amount of water that's rained down. Yep, sure is. I recently went into a autistic loop a few nights. I couldn't sleep a few nights ago, so I thought, right, let's see if I can do some maths regarding Gaius Appuleius Diocles. I think that's his name. If you look for wealthiest athlete in history, you'll come up with this Roman charioteer was racing for 24 years. His winnings amounted to just under 36 million sesterces. So that's, well, a sesterce is 2.5. A denarii is 10. Anyway, point being, my maths, he was, I saw the figure 122 AD. So I was like, right, what was the value of a denarii in 122 AD? Because all the sesterces were brass coins, but they represented 1/4 of a denarii, which is made of silver. Well, a silver denarii of 122 AD typically had a purity of around about 90%, a little bit more in some places, and a weight of anywhere from 3.1 to 3.4 grams, depending on if anybody's been clipping the coins, which was an issue back in the day. So, based on that, I did a guesstimate of, well, if it's 90% pure and it's, between 3.1 and 3.4 grams, I'll say the average weight of silver in each denarii, if you had, so there's 4 goes in there, 36 divided by 4 is, well, if it was 40, that'd be 10, so it's a bit less than 10, 36 divided by 4. Come on, Brett. I can't do mental division or multiplication. I have to write it down. We'll round it up to 10 million denarii. Point being, I did the actual maths, and I got a value of 3 grams per denarii times the amount, which is just under 10 million of them. It amounts to about 43,000 kilograms of silver. Spot price when I did it a few days ago was $650 for a kilogram of silver. So it amounted in today's monetary values to $28 million. I was looking at some of the prices, and the main thing Romans would eat is wheat bread, unless you were living in a town which didn't have communal bakers, and in which case you had a wheat porridge called pulses. So what? So yeah, a modus, which is an amphora with a volume of 8 litres. One modus of that, holding wheat in 300 AD when Emperor Diocletian issued the Edict of Maximum Prices. The maximum price for that was 100 denarii. And I figured out that the weight of wheat is something per kilogram. So he would have had enough for 2.2 million kilograms of wheat. And I thought, well, if a loaf of bread is just under 500 grams, because a Roman pound is like 326 grams and a modern pound is 454. So I reckoned that would equate to 5 million loaves of bread. And they said Gaius's wealth would be enough to afford the annual grain consumption of Rome. I don't know if that means just Rome, like what was given as the dole. Does it include like the grain consumed by all Romans dwelling in the city of Rome, or if it means actually no, all of Rome, the Empire of Rome. But based on 3rd century prices, which were inflated from 1st century prices. No, the first century is 0 to 100 AD. So he was in the 2nd century. So based on the 4th century prices, which were inflated from 2nd century prices, I could say that, well, he could have afforded at least 5 million loaves of bread with his wealth. And he was the wealthiest. Athlete ever. Now, it doesn't really sound as much as Michael Schumacher or some of the Olympic athletes or Premier League footballers to me. And the problem is, unfortunately, wheat is a heavily subsidised crop, and it's also heavily mechanised. So if you went back 10 years ago, because unfortunately wheat prices now are very expensive. Wheat is incredibly cheap, so a modern athlete could afford much more than 5 million loaves of bread with their wealth. I mean, if you just say the retail price of 5 million loaves of bread, if we're talking about like let's say £1, 5 million pounds for 5 million loaves of bread, then $28 million. Yeah. No, if you just converted the base silver value of his wealth, you could afford much more than 5 million loaves of bread in today's society. And that's the thing. It was a good thing to focus my mind on rather than just letting it free will. So I think it's a bit like when you have an engine under load and you don't take your foot off the accelerator, but you engage the clutch, the engine will rev up, and that's dangerous for it. And I think brains are a bit like that. If you let it free will without giving it and that, like a, not a physical load in this case, but a mental load, it will just it will free will and it'll be dangerous. So I thought, well, I'm going to give it a load. And the thing is that this working out this maths, it's not really a useful problem, because it's just, there's so many variables and it's hard. So like the statement of he was the wealthiest athlete, I'm like, yeah, but I have doubts about that. Also, what wealth is now and what wealth is then is very different. People spent a lot more on food in the Roman Empire than they do now. And in fact, most Romans had their diet consisted of just grain. That was it. Couldn't afford anything else. It was like a rare treat, like a Saturnalia, when you had meat and fish and other stuff to have. So yeah, it was different. Point being, rather than getting all anxious and like going, oh no, it's 5 in the morning and I'm still awake. No, I was just like, all right, let's work it out. So I did, and yeah, it raised some interesting challenges. I think I may have put the wood in. I always think I put the logs in a bit too prematurely, because I snuff out a lot of the flames when I do that. Main thing is, this one that's jutting out here, see, there's a little bit which fell off and I've put back in, and it's resting on that bit. So I want to wait for this to burn to a point where I can lift it off and place it down somewhere. What about that stick? We'll just press that up against the log there. Yeah. Listen to that sound. That's the sound of the rain which was on the logs last night, just hissing off. Oh, of course, I have a DEFRA approved woodshed, and so no rain got on my logs. That was all just make-believe. Countryside police, don't visit me. Go and bother Jeremy Clarkson and make up some spurious claims that he's been killing badgers. Well, at least there's a good heat there. Wouldn't be making so much noise if there wasn't. Yep. My granddad, he burns a lot of wood, and he's erected a new. It's not a lean-to structure; it's actually a new woodshed. I like it, but then I sort of look at it. It's like, well, you've got a big gap in the thing up there. how's that going to keep the rain off of it? I I don't really understand the logic behind woodsheds. I mean, to me, a lot of them seem far too shallow. I think barn buildings are a great idea for a woodshed. You just chuck your wood in there and shovel it with a bulldozer. But unfortunately, most households can't justify having a barn just for wood with a bulldozer to move it around. So yeah, a bit of bit of a have to make compromises, I guess. Yeah, that's a fire, all right. Okay, fire's done. I need to get ready. Goodbye.